Hello. They can be talked. Okay.
And B, we're going to see how this goes.
Yeah, Jason. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good, Ron. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Doing really good. What's the temperature out in beautiful Oregon today?
We are in the mid 80s today, so it's going to be beautiful. It's only 10 a.m. at my in my neck of the woods right now. I know it's like the afternoon for you, but it's still the morning. But it's going to be gorgeous. It's sunny outside, so it's a good thing.
It is afternoon. I think we were up by like 2:30 or 3 o'clock this morning. It was stupid.
Oh man,
Just ridiculous. By the time it gets to noon, it's like, well, Cindy's already put in a day full of work. So, hey, everybody, good morning. I am glad to be here. We had a little bit of technical difficulty on my part, getting on right at the right time. Software decided it was time to update, and you never know that right until you hit the go button. So had to do that first, but I am super glad you are here because you're about to hear some things that don't commonly get confessed just out in the open. Um, Guys, if you're here today, before I introduce our guest here, I want to tell you, see the little thing across the bottom. I used to call it the scrolly thing, but it's not scrolling now, so it's just sitting there. But go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and so open that in a different browser, and in a new tab, go and click the OK button. And once you hit the OK button, then you can comment, and we can see your comments, and you can comment anyway. But I'm gonna have to call you Facebook user if I don't know who you are. So you definitely want to do that. Then once you do that, you're good for ever and ever. Amen. And Jason, man, I'm so glad to get on here with you this morning. Guys, I want to introduce to you somebody that's become a great friend and literally one of the very top new construction realtors in the entire United States, Jason Cadwell. Jason, I met, and what that long ago was it, Jason?
no,
Um,
I don't think so. I think maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, and and he's very humble. He didn't like tell you, well, I'm like one of the top new construction realtors in the U.S. I started looking into it. It's like, dude, you're like sandbagging on me here. And until you hear his story, and he's got such a phenomenal story. And guys, I got to share with you, already in the short time that I've known Jason, I've learned so much from him. You're going to learn a lot from him today too. And so I wanted to bring him on for our new construction pros series. Hope you're here. Hey, if you're here today, would really like you to say hello, and in the little chat window down below or someplace, say hi, tell us where you're from. And I can see there's several people here. Would love to know who you are and where you are. And okay, there's the first one right there, Jason. They see there's another one. Look at him.
Somebody
They,
raised their
they
hand.
just do this because I asked them to go do the StreamYard thing, and it's just like, I'm not doing it. I'm not. You cannot make me do it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
love it.
Facebook user one and Facebook user hi, welcome. We're glad you're here. But anyway, you can tell us who you are, and I'm glad you're here. Tell us where you're from. So, guys, I'm really excited to see now they're ganging up on me, Jason. They're
That's
disconnected
good.
from StreamYard.
That's what we want, interaction. So yeah, if there's any questions as we go along, guys, throw it in the chat. Ron and I get to see it. So
Yeah, Facebook user one, two, or three. Okay, but anyway, so Jason, before we jump into the meat and potatoes here, okay. See, there's one that my wife. I mean, Cindy does it right. So Yvonne, welcome. Yvonne just joined up with Huda last night, Jason. So you'll be able to see her tomorrow, and she's down in the Houston market. So glad you're here, Yvonne, and other Facebook users, and feel free to jump in with questions for Jason. So, Jason, as we get started here, um, first, I always want to ask one question that most people don't know, and my question for you is, what was the first car that you drove? What was the first car that you owned? Because it says a lot about a man, at least in
the
his teen years.
I'm going to say the first car I owned was a 1976 Chevy Love pickup.
Wow,
You
Chevy
remember
Love.
those?
I
Little
do.
Chevy Love pickup.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did
So
that
I
happen?
bought it. I bought it for $650. The car lot guy was gracious enough to help a lot of us teenagers trying to buy our first cars, and I was able to put down $50. Actually, I think put down $100, and it was $50 a month from there.
Wow.
So that was my first one.
I bet you wish you still had it too, don't you?
I do actually. It's funny as I saw one, the same color, this weird sky blue, even with the white wheels on it. And I saw one not too long ago, and I was like, man, I should go ask that guy if he'd sell it.
You
So,
should.
anyways,
Could become part of your brand now.
there we go.
Yeah.
Right.
So, guys, Jason, as we get going here, I guess one of the first things I want to know is tell everybody kind of how you got started. What year did you start as a realtor, and then were you doing new construction from the get go, or how did that begin to unpack that for us a little bit? How did you begin to get started in the new home side of things?
Sure. I became a realtor on February 1st of 2001. So I've been basically 23 and a half years so far, and or excuse me, 22 and a half. It's 23, not 24 yet. 22 and a half years. But so no, what happened is at like any new agent, I went into the company that I was at, and I saw that there was new construction things happening already. Other agents were doing that, and so I just asked the agents in our offices, hey, can I do open houses? And that's literally what happened. That's how I got started. I just said, can I go do an open house? I'll sit there for free. I'm a new agent in the business. I just want to learn. I just want to get around people. And that's how you did it. There was no Facebook. There was no way to get in front of people, right? That was literally how you had to do it. It's either you picked up the phone and called out of the phone book and just called people. And I was, young. I didn't have really a database per se at the time. I did have some emails of people, but I didn't have, really a database built. And so I just said, hey, I'm going to do this. And so that's how I built my early years of my business in general, is just doing open houses, getting in front of people. And then, then that turned, of course, with new construction, is where it gave me a resume and experience that helped me moving forward, that I will talk about a little bit later on. But having that experience of doing new construction, I was able to take that and put that on a resume, if you will.
So you kind of man, I miss those old days too. No database. You got a phone book and you got a phone. Go figure out how to do business. And guys, if you didn't pick up on that, now if somebody type that in the comments, start with open houses, because I'd like somebody, as Jason's gonna be dropping some big tips for us here. And that's a huge one right there. So many times we're thinking, well, I got to go to this conference, that conference. One of the simplest things you can do, start doing new construction open houses. I did the same thing, Jason, and that's a very fast way to start building your new construction buyer portfolio. And
That's even today, right? That's now today's
absolutely,
time. If you're new, no
yep,
matter what you're doing, go do open houses. Get in
yep,
front of people. This is a people business. It's a contact sport, as they say. You got
yeah,
to do it.
yeah. When you started doing that, did you notice a difference between? Did you start to see a difference between who new construction buyers are versus used home buyers or regular home buyers? Did you?
I think like anything, you tend to see that, but in our marketplace, at least, they were both. You didn't know which way they were going to go, and really it was about, I think, like anybody, they like the idea of a new car, right? They like the idea of a new home, and something that's brand new, and not something that's used, if you will. And there was a period of time where there wasn't a lot of inventory that had been built for a few years, and I think this new construction in this particular area had raised a lot of eyebrows, like, oh, okay, this puts it is in a location that gives us an availability to get access to other cities. In our case, Corvallis. I'm in Albany, Oregon, for those who don't know. Next door to us is Corvallis, Oregon. We're Oregon State University. Go Beavers. That's where they're at. But a lot of people would commute from our area in Albany over to Corvallis, and so this location made it an easier commute to that area where a lot more of the jobs were. And so what that ended up being a couple of things. Both, first, the idea of loving a new home, but second, uh, the location is important as well, and that tends to be the case even more and more these days as neighborhoods pop up. No matter where you're at in the United States, they tend to be in locations that then people are in a radius of their jobs and their work life and everything else. So I mean, everything kind of happens in that hub, if you will.
Yeah, and one of the things that kind of struck me when I started working with new construction buyers is it seemed like the context or the neighborhood, the location was even more important than other people. At least that was one thing I picked up on. So you started to do new construction buyers, and you started to pick them up, and then at some point in your career, was it earlier? How long was it before you started reaching out and connecting with the builders and going after the builder developer side of things?
Yeah. So what had happened is, they say hard work equals good luck, and that's really what it was. I was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I was doing new construction open houses for agents in my office. There was we were at a back then it was Prudential, which are now the Berkshire Hathaways of the world. We had a sister office north of us, and there was an agent out of there that had a builder that was coming down to my area to build, and they were looking for a co-listing agent to help with that. And so again, they put that out to our company, and I raised my hand, and I was able to say, hey, I've been doing this. I have my resume of, meaning I've been out there doing new construction open houses. I know more than the average agent does because I've been out there doing it, and I've just picked up on all the nuances. And so I was able to take that information, put it into, it was literally a job interview, if you will, to go work for, and be a co-list agent with one of these builders. And so that's really what happened. And I was able to take the ball and run with it from there. But it started off just wanting to do open houses. I was able to take that experience and parlay it into being a co-list agent. Wow. with a particular builder.
Wow. And so now you're co-listing a small neighborhood or big neighborhood?
Or? It was 10 homes at the time.
Okay.
It was one of the rarities but you guys see all the time, was more of a planned community. And I think there's 600 homes in it, multiple phases. And there happened to be a handful of different builders, where a lot of times these days, that's hard. You don't see that a lot of times. A lot of times it's one builder, maybe two, that is taking up the whole subdivision.
Right.
If you're in the larger markets, like we have a lot of people on here from Houston, you're going to have areas where there's 1,000 lots being built, and there's 10 different builders going on in there.
Yeah.
And so in this particular thing, I was working with one small builder who had 10 lots at the time. And down the road after that, I was able to connect with another builder that was in the neighborhood. And for a minute there, I was working with two builders at a time. We were selling out of the first 10, and that group was getting a few more lots. And meanwhile, I'd met this other builder who I created a relationship with, and got to start working with him as well. And one of the interesting things, now I'm working with two different builders who knew of each other but didn't know each other. And the constant conversation I kept hearing from them as I talked to them frequently is like what we do is we ask, what do you need? What is your business plan? How can I help you? What are your pain points? What the pain points were, and always will be for builders, is land or locations, places for them to build. And I was hearing that conversation from both of them. And I'm still new into the business.
How many years were you into the business at that
point? I think I was a year and a half in, something like that.
Wow.
And so I'm going to every business meeting at this point. So now I have a I have two people telling me conversations that said, I'm looking for land. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was still new. I didn't understand the process of taking 10 acres and turning that into development lots to where the builders can then build on it. I didn't understand that process at the time. But I was the young green agent in my office. I would come to our staff meetings and I would talk to all the older guys who've been in the business. So now I'm an older guy. But then I was the young guy talking and saying, hey, do you have this stuff? I got buyers that are looking for land. And they said, oh, we'll keep our ears open or whatever. And like, yeah, whatever, kid. Your guys probably aren't ever serious or whatever. And now to that end, they were super cool to me. Later on, I just kept asking that question. Just keep asking. Probably a
What,
month.
what was the question? And what was the question?
Was does anybody know of any land to build for a subdivision? That was literally what it was. And a couple months later, a guy, I'll never forget him. His name's Ken McGarry. He's no longer with us, but he brought me a piece of land that was 40, I think is 40 acres, and he said, hey, this could probably end up being about 100 lots plus.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I found what these guys need. So I go to each person and I say, hey, we have a piece of property that can do 100 lots. And the first guy goes, whoa, that's too big. I can't handle that by myself. No way. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go talk to the other guy, and said the same thing. He's like, nah, that's just gonna be too much. I'm not gonna be able to handle that whole thing. And so literally that happened in the same kind of day or two. And I'm like, man, at first I was on the emotional roller coaster, right? I found something that they wanted and I'm like, I got this. We got this whole thing. Here's a potential 100 houses. So I'm looking way too far down the road at that point. And then all of a sudden the air gets blown out of my balloon because neither one of these guys can take on this project. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And so literally today I would know it immediately what to do, but then I didn't know. And I finally was literally a day in the shower or morning in the shower moment. And I started thinking, I go, man, I wonder if these guys would partner up, and I wonder if they could do it together. So I had the same question for both of them. I called them both and they said, well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, well, maybe we could do that. I could do half of it, or we could figure something out. And so what I did is I introduced the two builders together. We went and had a long lunch after lots of conversation about their call it the war stories of, hey, I've built this long, I built in this locations, blah blah blah.
Did they already know each other or no?
They knew of each other, but they had
Okay.
never had this kind of conversation. And so then you realize how small the world is, because then everybody knew each other's guys and subcontractors and all the fun stuff. So you're able to, in essence, and that's what our business is, no matter if it's 20 years ago for me or if it's today, the idea is to create a relationship and a connection.
Yeah.
That is our goal. And I can't tell you guys, when you go out and talk to builders or any client, it's all about a conversation first. It's not about business. And literally, I know the term gets used of a Ford conversation, but you're going to be talking about, and maybe it's not in that order, but family, occupation, their recreation, and their dreams. It may not be in that order, because a lot of times you're going to be talking a little bit of business first, but you're going to end up understanding where they come from when you ask great questions. And then you're diving into their world. Once you understand what they're doing, you can now tailor your messaging and your potential properties or sales, if you will, to them on what it is they're looking for. And so that's what we did. We just sat there around the table. I swear it was a 3-hour lunch. I think probably 2.5 hours was that. They were connecting together. And I just kept asking questions and I was in the middle, kind of the moderator, if you will, just kept asking questions so that they'd find more common ground. And we found that. And the last half hour, we said, okay, we think this is how we can get this done. And so we were able to then kind of come together and say, okay, next steps are, we need to go have a conversation with people that know more than us. In our world here locally, that would be surveyors and engineers. on how you put a subdivision together, how you put the streets in, the water, sewer, power, all that stuff. Those are the guys that we lean on to get that done. And so that's what we did. I won't go into the rest of it right this moment, but that's really what it was. I was able to take those two guys, put them together, and then get them to take an action step.
Well, let me interject on this. And guys, there's so many clues that you're dropping here, Jason, that and I think we got a problem here on this software. And I apologize. It's not my I don't know what's it.
All right.
I updated the software and it's telling me that people can't comment. Can somebody comment and see if you can comment? If you tried to comment and it's not coming up because we're not seeing it on this end, give me some likes or something. Do the like button or a heart or something. So at least I know that you're trying to comment. And you know that if I see your comments, I'm gonna let you get your questions forward to Jason. But there are several clues that Jason's dropping here. One is builders need land. Builders need land. And they're always, okay, all right. I guess we are getting a couple. All right. Yeah, I got likes anyway, but I don't know if I'm getting the comments. Testing. Thank you, Facebook user. But builders need land. If you guys are seeing clues in what Jason's telling you, write them in here so other people can see them. Drop the clues that in the comments. Builders. But here's another one. When we think about traditional realtor role, what is it? We got a buyer. We get a seller. We match a buyer with a seller. Boom. And that's the only way you really can get a transaction, a seller and a buyer, right? But when it comes to new construction, it's like the whole world is opened up to you because now you got seller and seller that become buyers, right? Because they need land, and you can marry those partner those buyers to the sellers together, turn your sellers into a buyer, and you got it's like I don't say infinite, but it's a lot more opportunity, isn't it?
For sure. And one of the things, some people don't like partners, but when you start getting into bigger dollar projects like that, it tends to be, especially to a couple smaller guys, it's a lot easier to get it done if you have a partner that is equitable, right? Making sure that you guys can come together and be a 50-50. It makes some sense. And one of my guys says, I can walk through the woods in the dark by myself, but I sure do like it better when there's a buddy with me.
Yeah.
And that's really the idea is sometimes it's okay to go do it on your own, but sometimes it's too big of an animal that you really need to have some help. And so what had happened is that's how we found a solution also. And I think we see this all over the place, whether it's development, whether it's larger multi-family properties that people are buying, right? They're bringing people together. Syndication, right? That's really what that was. That's a syndicate deal is really what it was. You brought the parties together who brought the capital to get it done. It was just them two, but really that's an early idea of today's multifamily syndications that you see out there that everybody's parlaying their money in to get something done. And so that's, again, you look for those opportunities when someone has one thing or one idea and they think it's too big. Just make sure you're thinking out of the box.
Right, which you absolutely did. And then, I mean, was there trepidation on your part going, hey, I'm a 2-year realtor. I'm still kind of green behind the ears, they're wet behind the ears. And were you nervous about it? I mean, or what led you to go ahead and push through and put this deal together?
What, of course, I think you're nervous about it, but when you start realizing, I know what I don't know, and I try to be very smart about that to know that and just ask questions. And the great thing is, if you know this much more than somebody else, or you happen to sit down with an engineer and go through the surveying process and all of that, I would bet I'm 1% of the realtors who have been able to do that. So even in the first conversation, as we sat down with them and understood it and really got that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not saying that I know everything, but the information that I just gained over everyone else, I'm like, okay, we're in the right place.
Yeah.
And I'm able to learn that and understand. So it actually kind of gave me I'm going to say a quiet confidence to know I got to keep digging.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a nervousness where I mean, you're always going to be nervous, I think, if you will, meaning you don't want to screw up and make a mistake. But I'm also not going to be afraid to keep going and ask the questions and know that sometimes those are going to lead down to dead end roads. And that's okay.
Yeah, I found that too. When I was and I love that. And guys, I'd jot that one down if you're taking notes. That's a writer down or this much more. That's how much you need to know to have created a differentiation in the eyes of the people that you're working with. And it's just about having conversations and learning. How many, so back then, Jason, just if you kind of ballpark it, how many I don't know how many realtors are in your market or were back then. How many realtors do you think understood what you were already starting to learn at that stage?
I mean, I'm literally, like I said, 1%. I would say 1%
I
of the
don't even think
purchase.
it's 1%.
Well, but I mean, just there, what it was. Again, it's very few, and I could name them on my hand of at that time, and even today, who I know who to go call and relate with, and so yeah, it's a very small amount. Just and that being said, it is a niche market, and so that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. That because if someone isn't in that 1%, that's just on the development side, and that's what you have to remember.
Right.
And I think one of the key points around this conversation, around Hoodle and what this is and what you guys are trying to do, we're not just trying to do, but are doing, is what we've been trying to do along the way. And I learned, and I kind of commented on somebody's thing last night on, how to get realtors out to your subdivisions or whatever it may be. And what I mean by that is get really good at understanding new construction in general from the house being built. Start there, because that's really what I got to understand when I was doing these open houses when I first began. I got to really understand that process. I got to see them from the foundation all the way up to finish. And then with my next builders, I got to see the same things. I was literally sitting out at houses that had just started framing, and I was doing a open house. I was sitting out there. We had open house signs. I was sitting out there with flyers and showing people this is what's coming. And so by being part of that, I really learned to understand what the new construction process is, learn the new construction buyer and their mentality, learn that when a new construction buyer is coming to you, a lot of times they may have a house to sell, especially today in today's world. And now that's a potential multiple transaction scenario. Also, you're able to let people, a lot of times when people find a house that they want to buy, if it's a used house, right? And they're like, man, I'm not ready to put my house on the market, but I found it. I went out shopping and I found it. They are scrambling to put that thing on the market and get it done and get it sold. And the process is messy. And sometimes they don't get it done right. They don't get the pictures done, the pre-inspections done, the staging done, right? So they're not maximizing their dollar. It's a slow sale, all these frustrations because they're scrambling to get this property. When you have a new construction opportunity, when you work with the right builders, and they allow you to have home sale contingencies because you're waiting for the house to get built at the same time, you can work that and they can do the process better up front, so you can create a better experience. And that's one of the comments I made on that post was, if we can do a couple things, educate our builders on how important it is to allow home sale contingencies when done the right way. You gotta have some control on that and making sure that the other agents are listing the properties correctly at the right pricing and what have you, so that way not to leave the builder hanging. But second, play nice in the sandbox with realtors in general, because that's an additional piece for your resume when you go and you find a builder or a developer that you want to start working with, because you now have that track record of not being the jerk agent out in the marketplace. And believe me, that gets around. And so you have to be careful with that as well. So I can't emphasize that enough, on that playing nice in the sandbox. That has made us a ton of money, a ton of contacts, a ton of goodwill in the community. Just by doing that alone has been huge for us, and that's just on the new construction home building side, not necessarily the development, if you will.
So you went from a 10-unit neighborhood co-listed to 100 acres. That's huge.
No, 40 acres, 100 lots.
For 100 lots. Okay,
Yes.
I got
Yep.
one. So 40 acres, but 100 lots. But it was a pretty big project. When you look back at from everything you've learned and where you are today, and by the way, tell everybody where your business is today. Do you mind sharing that? So
Sure.
a little bit about where you guys are currently.
So again, 22 years in the business. We've, I've went from was being a single agent at the time to started a small team, and then in 2013, I was with a Remax at that time in 2013, had left and started our own company. So Cadwell Realty Group, we've owned and been open for just over 10 years, and currently we're at right at 100 agents in our brokerage, with more growth coming. And what we've done with that is we've grown our name around. New construction has definitely helped us from that perspective, gaining the knowledge, playing nice in the sandbox. We've had a lot of people come to us because they're like, hey, you're just a good dude, you take care of us out in the field and whatever. So that's where we're at right now. I think we'll, as a company, we'll do 800, 900 transactions this year. Our new construction the last year and a half has been slower just because of what happened. But you and I think we're talking about this before, and my numbers were off. But I know we've done, since before 2008 in new construction only, I think I did around 250 to 300 homes. Since 2008 and beyond, I think we're probably close to 1,500 that I've done. I thought it was 1,000, but one of my guys corrected me. And I'm working on projects, just on stuff that I'm personally working on, 5, 6, 700 lots in the pipeline of potential stuff. And that's 4 or 5 years out. That's not just today, right? And that's what has to happen over time as builders go on and they get bigger. They're starting to plan that far out. And that's just pieces that I take care of. I'm the lead agent, if you will. I have all the relationships with the builders, and then I have a fantastic team of people behind me that help do it all. Without a team, there's no way we could be doing what we're doing. But so that's where our business is, if you will.
I wonder if now that you mention it, I wonder if just by the nature of new construction, I've never really thought about it, but realtors really have to become more of long-term thinkers. I mean, it's just a longer play, and we're trained by society and everything else. You got to get your win in the next 5 minutes, like you're driving up to the McDonald's window and then you drive away and wonder why your fries are cold.
That's right.
But new construction, builders and developers are planning out 10 years in advance. They're buying.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's what is strategic planning. When's that going to happen? And that's what, someone had made a comment about buying development property. I had my hand in that, buying land and playing developer as well, and kind of got our butts kicked, to be honest. We did well on a few projects, but in 2008 got us. And the point to that is, when someone is a developer, and this is where I think, if you can remember this, you're going to have a new respect for these guys. When you're looking 4 or 5 years down the road, they're sitting on millions of dollars of land that they can't do anything with, because they project a good sized profit at the end, but they had to sit on that and put that together on a bet that everything's going to happen. They got to bet that the economy is going to continue to do well. They got to bet that the local jurisdictions are not going to change their mind, that the states, especially where we're at in Oregon, that their wetland stuff doesn't change. The Corps of Engineers, which is a federal deal, right? That was a Supreme Court decision just recently, right? That that affected wetlands for our subdivisions locally. A Supreme Court decision. It was the other way. The current political group said it needs to be this way. Supreme Court reversed it and said, here's how it is on the waters of the U.S. But that's the whole point. They're sitting on millions of dollars of land in the hopes that they get to do that. So remember, not to scare you, but to just have a respect for what these guys have in front of them, and understand why they don't want some I'm going to say some flaky realtor or someone that comes in and just says, hey, give me a listing, give me this, give me that. It's like, no, it is completely earned. Again, relationship, finding the places that they're needing help, finding their pain points. That's how you do that. And you just have to understand what's on the line.
Guys, there's so much stuff here. I hope you guys are taking notes like I am. But I really think that's true, that it really is about becoming a learner, and just, and I love the idea of respect, but coming in and everybody's focused on the quick win. What do I got to do to get a listing? But when you change your position and you start becoming fascinated about their world, about their problems, about the way they think, about when are they going to make money, about how much do they have tied up in this, what's that process, everything begins to change. And I remember the first times I was doing that too, Jason, going, and I would go to, I don't know if you ever did this, you probably did, but I'd go to like the city planner and economic development people, and I'd started connecting with anybody and everybody at a government level, permitting and city planning and surveyors and everybody, and saying, hey, where do you fit in this process? And one of the things I always like to ask is, how's a neighborhood created? And by the way, guys, if you haven't seen it already, Jason has got a terrific, really, really informative video series out right now. What's it called?
Well, full disclosure, it's something that I stole from Ron. So Ron, you had said, where do neighborhoods come from? We were talking on one of our calls the other day about that, and I changed it and went from my direction. We will do a where do neighborhoods come from deal a little bit later, but today we're doing where do houses come from, right? And literally what we're doing is a video series, and it's literally just me talking, and I talk too much and I say and ah and whatever, right? Way too much, but it's just trying to show the process of from bare ground to a foundation to framing to a finished house. And so that's what's going to happen. I've done I think a total of 20 videos so far. I've pushed out 11, and there'll probably be 30 or so videos at least by the time we're done just with that series, and then I'll probably go back and redo it again. But what the point is, and Ron, I'd like to add this in where you're going about getting those wins for a second, is I think agents today, what you can do is take those things that I'm doing and copy it. Take it and go figure out in your neighborhoods how to do that. Go to a new construction neighborhood that has homes for sale. Today across the country, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, you talk to more people across the country than I do, but everybody has a buyer inventory problem, meaning they can't find houses for them to buy. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
So go and understand all of the new construction neighborhoods, or actually just go find a couple in your area. Go there, do a video, do a post, and send it out to your people. Put it on a postcard and send it out to your database. Tell people, change the narrative. There is inventory out there. Call me and talk about it. Do a call of action. If you start there and that will get you to understand what is going on in the new construction neighborhood at the 30,000 foot level.
Yep.
Then once you get that, you're going to have a buyer or two that goes through a new construction process. Maybe you've already done that before. Now you're at a 10,000 foot level because you've already been through the process and you understand what that builder's requiring. Then later on, you can go to these neighborhoods, continuing to educate yourself, and you're bringing yourself down to those levels of really getting a great understanding. Meanwhile, you're collecting commission checks and transactions because you're putting out there that there's inventory, right? Because buyers are forgetting that there's inventory there. You're able to do that. So that's your short-term wins, right? That's what pays the bills. That's what makes you a living. Where you're able to get a few home runs is once you take that information, bring it down to the level to where you're able to create relationships with potential builders because of the information you're putting out. They're seeing you and going, hey, this person knows this. I want to talk to them because they're understanding my problems now. Why do buyers and sellers reach out to us? Because we are top of the mind to them that we can help them solve a problem. Ultimately, that's what real estate is. We help people solve problems. A byproduct is real estate. And so if we can do that for a home builder or developer by showing that we know our stuff, building that resume that I talked about,
Yep.
that's going to get you your short wins. And I think that's really important. So you do that. So do that. Then back to what you're saying, Ron, go start having conversations with the people at the cities, at the planners, the everybody else. That's exactly what I do. I talk every time I'm meeting with a planner. I'm asking a specific question about something. And then I go, hey, what else is going on? It's no different than when you're selling a house to somebody and you say, who else should I be talking to? Now that we're going to be, not communicating every day, who else can I give great service to? You're going to be asking those same questions to them. All of the engineers and land planners and all those people out there. You start having those conversations and you're going to get to understand that again. And there's little stuff you're going to say, hey, I heard this thing's coming out. You may see a sign that's on a development sign that's coming. Take that, utilize it for social media, right? Do something with that, push that out to your people, and then go become the expert, build that neighborhood on Hoodle.
Yep.
And then you may not be the listing agent, and that's okay, but you're going to talk to the listing agent, tell them, look, here's what I'm doing. I want to bring you sales. As a listing agent, I'm going to applaud you and say, what do you need from me to help you bring buyers to the table? I would love it if you sold every single one of my listings.
Wow.
That's that's how you get those wins.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I off the soapbox there, but man,
that's good, man. I love it.
That I thought was important.
I love it. And I would go talk to builders. I still, when I talk to builders but even like surveyors and city planners and stuff, I can't believe how many times somebody said, you are the only realtor that's ever taken the time to come in and ask this stuff. Why don't the rest of you? And you start to realize, okay, there's not 45,000 that I'm competing with. There's about 5, right? And you very quickly, and I'll go back to what Jason said earlier. You don't have to be miles ahead. You just have to be a little bit ahead, and you just do that over and over and over. You have these. If you think about it, Jason, I mean, we're in a knowledge business, right?
Yes.
We're knowledge workers. They've said for years we're knowledge workers. We sell information. It just so happens now that information has become commoditized. Everybody's got it because of Zillow and Realtor and MLS. But all of a sudden, when you start doing this, you have unique knowledge because you're understanding the process. You're understanding where the land is and who the neighborhoods are and who the builders are. And you've completely changed the story. I mean, you have differentiation that nobody else can even catch up with.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been really, really cool. What I really love is when an agent will call me and say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I know you know a bunch about this. And so it makes me feel good that first they're calling me. Second, I'm having the conversation that says with agents around that said, hey, help bring us land deals. I have the buyer on the other end. And if you're in our company, you also can participate in the open houses and get some monetary on the back end of the listings. So that's been really good for us as well. But it is, and that's about, again, playing nice in the sandbox, right? I treat everybody like I would want to be treated. I'm an open book as on here. I'll tell you anything that I know. Because it's like anything that you got to take that knowledge and then go do something with it. And I don't feel I'm in competition with anybody as a realtor from that perspective. I'm an open book.
So, guys, and if you weren't here at the start of it, because I know some people came in, just so you know, I mean, Jason is at the top of the game when it comes to realtors and new construction and learning how to do this. Jason, I know you probably have you partnered with people? Have you been part of some of the deals now at this point, or do you kind of you'd stay on the sales side and if you're open to talking about
partner inside the development, if you
yeah.
will. Yes, that was back during the 2008 thing. We did well on a couple, and a bunch we didn't do so well. And so I have not been a partner in the land any further. One thing I know and have learned is we only have so much bandwidth.
Absolutely.
We have really learned since 2008 is everybody has talked about this. We used to have every builder would be a developer themselves too.
Yeah.
Now everybody's learning to stay in their lane. So you're grabbing you have a developer and then you have a builder over here, and those guys work together. The one guy develops the lots, one guy buys the lots from the developer and builds the houses, and then us, the realtors, sell the houses. Stay in your lane,
Yeah.
get very intimate with it. It's like anything. If you have a magnifying glass and you're going like this, you're never going to burn anything. But if you take it and you hold it in one spot, you're going to catch all those ants on fire.
Wow.
Right. And that's literally what you got to do. And everybody, I think, as of late, as of the last recession, has really started doing that more and more. We've seen some problems of those who haven't. And fortunately, it's not us. We're seeing others who are getting overextended, or they don't have the bandwidth, or I'm going to say even mental capital. That's not saying they're just stupid people. That's not what I'm saying. We only have so much that we can deal with up here, and there's only 24 hours in a day. Yeah. And when you spread yourself so thin, you're not going to be good at anything. So that's really what I've learned, is really try to stay in my lane of what I do. So I don't partner with anybody that way anymore.
Love it. Focus, guys. Burn the ants. So,
Yep.
Jason, let me ask you something. When you look at realtors now, okay, and we're not, we're here to try to encourage and help and move people forward, but is there any glaring big thing that you think that, man, if realtors knew this, or if they did this a little bit different, it could really change the opportunity for them? What's the big thing that you think that realtors tend to miss when it comes to new construction?
I'm gonna go back to, based on today's marketplace. So July 12th, 2023, today it's about inventory. And inventory, I'm gonna say inventory and interest rates. First and foremost, builders have inventory where you can't find it anywhere else. Additionally, some builders are, because they have, remember we talked about some builders are out there 4 or 5 years. They have a machine to keep running. And so a lot of times if they're a bigger builder, they may be offering incentives such as closing costs or rate buy down or anything else, because interest rates are where they're at today. Mm-hmm. That's still out there. And so sometimes you can get more stuff than you might on an existing home. So that's a really, I keep telling all of our agents on our staff meeting yesterday, I said, make sure and watch new construction. We give a new construction update, but remember that it's not just about the stuff that we have in house. Remember all the other builders around you that are around us. There is inventory out there. Take your buyers out there. Make sure they know what it is, what the deals are, and do that. That's really today's focus, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to meet with builders, and I don't get as much opportunity to like I was then as a realtor. And I always loved asking them this one question. I think I asked over 100 builders one question: what's the number one or two things that you would look for in a realtor that you would want to partner with? And the top things that they always told me, it kind of goes exactly back to what you're sharing, is builders always say, probably the very top one is, I want to work with a realtor who understands my business. And that's everything you're talking about, that it's 5 years out, that they've got a lot of risks, that they think about it. They're not just thinking about, just give me the transaction, I'll get you the listing. They're get a much bigger world that they're in, and we have to step into that and learn it. That's the number one thing that they say. The second thing that they say is, I want to work with a realtor. I will partner with a realtor who has their finger on the pulse, or they understand the new construction buyers. and has a way to attract new construction buyers. Those are the top two things, really. Um, well, this is really informative. And Jason, I got to ask you too. When we met, what what was it about Hoodle that caused you to become part of it, or what were your thoughts about that when you found Hoodle? And
Yeah, no, what like I told you is we knew that we've been working on putting kind of our own information stuff together for a while, and we just do it on our own website. It's just for us. But the whole idea was we know that from an agent standpoint, there is a ton of people out there searching for new construction homes. And I'd always thought, hey, I got to build a platform or do something. But man, just the whole idea of doing that is intensive. And then we, ran into each other, and I said, well, what does Hoodle mean? And as you said, is kind of basically it's neighborhoods and Google. That's kind of the idea. And I'm like, well, duh, here we go. So there's what we were looking for in a little bit different manner that is actually better than just what we were thinking. And so the idea for us is we create pages of every one of our subdivisions on Hoodle, and that are going to, let what you guys are doing behind the scenes and your SEO that you're doing, and that's automatically going to drive traffic. And so for especially what you're offering right now, it's super inexpensive for what you get. And guys, I know the price is going to go up. It has to. Just like anything, you get a lot of adoption, and then the price it has to go up, because there's no way for what you're providing that you're making any money on me. But the point is, we want to be able to drive traffic to those. We start sharing our pages on Facebook and Instagram and everything else to give those extra spider web of information out there, right? The more people that go and the more people that do that across the country, the more traffic it's going to get. But as well as the more that Google will pay attention when somebody types in new homes in Albany, Oregon, that's going to pop up as well. And then therefore buyers will potentially come to us. We get transactions out of that. And so that's how we all make money on that. So I think the key is go there from an agent standpoint, go there, build your pages, and make it a place where you can send people and they can sign up and get more information about the particular neighborhood, or whether, and it doesn't matter whether or not you represent a builder in that neighborhood. But I will challenge you to, if you're going to go there and build a page, don't not build a page and get, before you get the information, but go and find some information on those builders in the neighborhood. Go be that expert, or as much as you can. Go know that when somebody reaches out to you, you're like, hey, yeah, I can take you to John Smith, the builder, because I know he's building these types of homes. He's the one that's got the RV garages that you can park an RV in, or this particular one's doing condo or townhome style, or the lock and leave type stuff. So know the neighborhoods, and then when you have a incoming lead, you know what to talk about. And then you can turn those people, they're going to go, oh my gosh, they know what they're saying. They know what they say. You know what you're talking about. I'm going to work with you, because back to what you said, knowledge is what we sell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's much more like being a concierge than you're not just pulling a house off the MLS. Well, here anyone will do. You're matching them with the right builder, the right floor plan, the right location.
Correct.
And walk them through that process. But
That's right.
Jason, I gotta tell you thank you. I mean, we're kind of coming to the top of the hour. I want to honor your time. I literally I could sit and talk with you for hours and learn from your experience. You're so generous with sharing with the realtors and sharing with everybody, with the Hoodle community and realtors and people in general, from your many years of experience. I know you're way older than me, but anyway,
I think we're neck and neck, but
yeah, probably so. I started in February of 2001 too, so
awesome.
we were right at the same time.
So we're in realtor years, we're the same, or kind of, I call them dog years.
Dog years.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, on my profile here, or my background is QR code. If you scan that, that'll give you my information. And it's got everything there on how to find me. Feel free and reach out if you have questions. I would love to connect, and help you figure out a problem or solve something on your end. From that, new construction is what I live and breathe. I geek out on this, and I really do like it. But more importantly, I love it when someone can take what I've done. I have a friend out in Iowa that took some of our stuff, and he was able to go land a builder with, and I believe the first shot was like 50 some lots, and nothing made me happier. I didn't get anything off of it except what I wanted, and that's my own satisfaction that it worked. That's what I want to do. I want to help people do that. Maybe later down the road, I can, charge a few bucks for talking to people or something. But today, this is how we build it, and I want to do that also with Hoodle. So you'll see me around the Hoodle camp for a long time too, just contributing where I can. So guys, reach out.
Wow, guys, there you have it right there. I would grab that QR code and connect with Jason. He's just such a wealth of knowledge. Every time we get on the phone, he's got good ideas for me, and he'll have good ideas for you, and generous to a fault. So, Jason, thanks so much for taking the time and sharing with us today. I know we're going to need to have you back on and dive deep on some of these topics at some point, but man, what a great session today. Any parting words that you have for realtors as we close up here?
Guys, I think everything again right now. So again, July 12th, 2023, there was just a report that said NAR expects 275,000 agents to leave this business this year. Don't be one of them. And how you do that, again, this is the broker owner jumping on a soapbox. Okay, go find the inventory. It's out there. You can save your career by doing the last half of this year, just by making sure you're going and finding the inventory. If you go and do that, I promise you, it will make a difference.
Yep.
This isn't about trying to go find builders to necessarily represent or whatever. That's a longer game. You're going to do that automatically. That'll be a byproduct of doing this stuff over and over again. But just go find the inventory, understand it, and send it out to your buyers, and make sure and tell them to change the narrative out there that there is a lot of business still being done. Homes are still being built. There is inventory versus everybody saying there's no houses for sale. There is. Go find it. That's how you're going to survive in the business if you're struggling right now.
Yeah. And Elka says, thanks. Elka's in the Nashville market, and Elka specializes in agent place type of, she's got a niche within the niche. She's got a sub niche within new construction. Guys, if you haven't already, because I know some people are seeing this on LinkedIn and elsewhere, a couple things. You can go grab a free report at newhomenicheblueprint.com, where we go through the 7 biggest problems that new construction buyers have. And if you are not in the group, you really ought to take a snapshot of that and come join the New Home Niche Blueprint group on Facebook, where we're doing these kind of interviews every single week and learning from amazing experts and leaders in the industry like Jason. Jason, thanks so much for being here today. This has been awesome. And man, I can't wait to talk to you again. I need to come out to Oregon one of these days. I've never been there yet. So
yeah, you'll love it. Come in the summertime. It's not so humid like you guys get out there.
Okay. All right. I know you can show me a fishing spot or something. So
absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. And Jason, I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope, you didn't at all. We're good.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Hope you have a blessed week, and have an amazing week. And most of all, hope you go out there and be amazing for somebody else. This is Ron and Jason, and we're signing off. Talk to you later. Bye.